Alright guys, welcome once again to the other Q&A, and this one is the Gremlins-centric Q&A. And once again, as always, if I did not answer someone's question, that usually means YouTube either marked it as spam or didn't have it at all on the list. So once again, I do apologize for that. Anyway, let's get into the Q&A itself. Sorry, starting with JW Goji fan, who asks, favorite Gremlin. My favorite Gremlin would have to be Stripe. He was just this little psychopath who just he's clearly had a lot of fun, and of course you can't go wrong with Frank Welker. You really can't. Thoughts on the movie? Second question. Thoughts on the movies? I like both of them. Of course, Gremlins is a classic, and Gremlins 2, even though it's not a great film, I still see it has a lot of fun because I feel like the guys behind Gremlins 2 were like, we can't top this, and just decided to have fun with it in some cases. So, yeah, I like them. Gremlins 2, the new batch, is in no way a good movie, but I find it fun. There's some great gags here and there, and yeah, what more can I say? Obviously the first movie is the superior one, but still. Third question. Are you wondering if there will be a Gremlins 3? I would love to see a Gremlins 3 because, one, I think it would be great to see a nice trilogy, and two, I think, Hollywood's really capitalizing on the nostalgia factor, because did anyone ask for a Zoolander 2? Did anyone really ask for a Zoolander 2? And there are some other movies out there that, why are they getting sequels now? Why are they now getting, irrelevant sequels? If anyone needs a sequel, it's Gremlins, not a reboot. I know they're not even talking about a reboot, but yeah. A sequel to Gremlins would be fun. So, yeah. Anyway. Thank you for those questions. Moving on now to King Nazaru, who asks, if the Gremlins movie were to be rebooted, who would you want to be working on it? You see, I don't want it to be rebooted, but let's say, hypothetically, what if it was Gremlins 3? If there was a Gremlins movie, I think the right people behind it would be, you gotta know someone who knows how to do horror comedy. You really gotta have someone who can do horror comedy. I would actually, since they're starting to direct movies. This is gonna sound like really weird, but I would get Kay and Peele. Yeah, I would get Kay and Peele to direct this film. They've talked about how they've been Gremlins fans in the past, and they know how to do comedy. And quintessentially, even more than it's a horror movie, it's a comedy. It's a sick comedy. That's what Gremlins is. So I feel like, and they can do some really, I would love to see what kind of gags they could do with the Gremlins. So I would get Kay and Peele to direct this film. Or at least one of them. I feel like they would get the comedy. Anyway, who else would I want working on it? I don't know. But for directors and maybe even the writers, for directing and write, or at least the writing, one of the two, Kay and Peele. Second question. Do you think the Gremlins would be watching Jack Spencer and I's videos if he talks to Evie Bot and drives? I don't even know who this guy is. I don't really keep up with a lot of YouTube people, major YouTube people. So yeah, unless unless it's Markiplier, and even then, that's only when I'm in a mood. I'm not subscribed to him or anything. I just I'm gonna go see what Markiplier's doing. Anyway. So yeah, I can't really answer that one. And third question. Since the gang from Rosario Vampire manga have already fought the gang from Rosario Vampire have already fought the Gremlins, what do you think the Gremlins would want? Do you think the Gremlins would want revenge? I'm pretty sure they would, but after seeing the school, they'd be like, no. So yeah. So thank you for those questions, King Nazaru. Moving on now to Christian Sager, who asks, how did the Gremlins not get a Saturday morning cartoon? I mean, they made one for Little Shop of Horrors and Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Do you think you'd think the Gremlins would be prime real estate? Yeah, that's a weird thing. I've always kind of wondered, why didn't the Gremlins ever get an animated series? I mean, even RoboCop got an animated series. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes got an animated series. Little Gift Shop of Horrors got an animated series. I think there's even supposed to be a Killer Clowns from Outer Space animated series, if I'm not mistaken. that was supposed to be made. But Gremlins made so much sense. A Gremlins animated show, you could do so much with animation, with those kind of stories. So, yeah, it would make sense, really. So, yeah, I'm as surprised as you. You'd think they would have made that money. So, second question. Lobo meets the Gremlins. What adventures await the main man and his new posse fan club? I think it would be more along the lines of of Lobo just blowing the bat snitches up. That would be more it, because I don't think he would only spend like 2 minutes with them and be like, "You're fucking dead." So anyway, thank you for those questions, Christian Sager. Moving on now to Nolan Uno, who asks, what if you came home and a dead Jar Jar being eaten by gremlins? What would you do? And I just let the gremlins keep eating dead Jar Jar. If you became a gremlin, what would you do? Fuck shit up. Yeah, that's all I can really say. Third question: if you had to control over the gremlins, where would you be going to play a prank on your mom, and how would you do it? I don't think I'd be pulling a prank on anyone in my family, but if I could control the gremlins, I would have them... I don't know. There'd be some guys in high school I'd love to turn the gremlins on. Anyway. Thank you for those questions, Nolan. Moving on to Nicholas Harley, who asks, Gremlins meet the Earth Special Forces from DBZ. What happens next? The Earth Special Forces are going to get a major headache from these little fuckers. Oh, man. Rick and Morty meet Gremlins. What would they think of each other? Oh, man. That actually sounds like a really kick-ass crossover. I would love to see Rick and Morty versus Gremlins. I think that would be so much fun to see in comic book form or TV form. I think that would be a lot of fun. I would just imagine what Rick and the others would do. I mean, I could imagine it now. Summer brings home Gizmo, and Morty gets it wet, and I think that would be hilarious. Like, that would be a joke. Oh man, Rick, I got the Mogwai wet. Jeez, Morty, why do you have to turn on the little fuzzy things? No, not like that, Rick. Anyway, so third question. Lord Beerus meets the Gremlins. What happens next? Lord Beerus blows up some Gremlins. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Nicholas. Moving on now to Matthew Roscoe. I hope I'm saying that last name right. But Matthew asks, how do you think the Gremlins multiply when they get by water? Is it like how sea monkeys multiply, or is it like how mushrooms multiply? That's a good-ass question. I always kind of chalked it up to magic, really. It's actually a really damn good question. The second question: how would each character on Legends of Tomorrow would react to a Gremlins infestation in Gideon? Collectively, let's kill these fuckers. That would be the general consensus. So, third question. What would you do if you obtained Gizmo as a pet? I would find someone a lot more responsible than me. Just saying. And you also wanted to ask. You've also been wondering where the videos of Where Would They Be Now that me and Sickrick Joseph did. I had to take down a majority of them for a few reasons, mostly because I didn't want the YouTube Nazis after me. So unfortunately, that's why I had to take them down. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Matthew. Moving on now to Andrew Varney, who asks, Steven and Connie befriend Gizmo. What happens next? Steven accidentally gets Gizmo wet. Oh no, he feeds Gizmo after midnight, and oops. Yeah. Second question. The Gremlins invade Ponyville and meet Discord. How much damage are we looking at? A lot. That actually sounds like another cool one. Gremlins and MLP. That actually would be a lot of fun. Yeah, but meeting Discord, that'd be even worse. Alright, Stripe from Gremlins encounters the following: Zim, Gur, Peridot, the Emperor Pilaf, K9, Ash from Evil Dead, 80 Skeletor, and the Cell Juniors. What does he think of them? Stupid. Stupid. Alright, thank you for those questions, Andrew Varney. Moving on now to Hekalos, who asks, what type of new Gremlins, not in 1 and 2, do you want to see, like, new types of Gremlins? I'm actually kind of okay with the Gremlins just being Gremlins. I was really never hot on the idea of special Gremlins, or like the monster type, like the different types of Gremlins. But if I had to make one, it would have to be like maybe a Gremlin that can camouflage itself, like a chameleon Gremlin, maybe something like that. I don't know. All right, thank you for that question, Hakelos. Moving on now to Andre Partridge, who asks, how would the Crystal Gems handle a gremlin infestation if one broke out in Beach City? Oh, they'd be they'd be tearing their hair out by the end of it. Could you imagine them like in the donut shop eating all that stuff and annoying Lars, or going through the through the car wash? The possibilities are endless there. Second question: the Gremlins versus the Tribbles. Who wins? Gremlins. Third question: how bad would it be if the Earth was suddenly infested by xenomorph gremlins? They'd be annoying and extremely hard to kill. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Andre Partridge. Moving on now to Lord Slayer, who asks, who would you have write a Gremlins comic series? Interesting question. This is another thing. Why haven't the Gremlins ever gotten a comic book series? Seriously, IDW, Dynamite, someone, get on that right now. I'm always wondering, because since, IDW always gets these movie titles, so I'm always wondering, why haven't we gotten a Gremlins comic yet? I'm just saying. Anyway, so who would I get to write it? I think the person I would get is maybe either Chris Mowry, the writer for Godzilla Rulers of Earth. I think he could do some comedic stuff, or... Actually, no, I think a better choice would be Joe Kelly. Yeah, Joe Kelly, I think he could get the humor down for Gremlins. And for artwork, Matt Frank. There you go. How would you do a crossover between Gremlins and Pumpkinhead if given the chance? Gremlins versus Pumpkinhead. I think how I would do it is have maybe that the Gremlin, the owner of Gizmo has another owner, but he's killed in an accident, and the person's wife or some other family member wants revenge. But at the same time, when Pumpkinhead spawned, Gizmo gets wet, or he's fed after midnight, and yeah, there you go. I don't really know. That's what all I could think of on the fly. Anyway, you are caught in a gremlin frenzy. What is your weapon of choice? Chainsaw. I'm gonna go Leatherface on their green asses. So, thank you for those questions, Lord Slayer. Moving on now to Travis Rendon, who asks, which gremlin was the most dangerous, Stripe, Mohawk, or Brains? I gotta give it to Stripes. Stripe was homicidal from the get-go. He was the de facto leader of the other Mogwai, and then when he became he took on his gremlin form, he just led the rest of them into total anarchy. Without even needing to say a word, really. Anyway, second question. If you were a gremlin, which main villain gremlin would you like to work under and why? Probably, again, Stripes, for the reasons I mentioned. What would you look like as a gremlin? I don't know. Maybe... I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Travis Rendon. Moving on now to Linerman 0245, who asks, the Gremlin decide to wreak havoc in Haddonfield. How will Michael Myers be able to handle them? I think this would be the first time Michael Myers actually says something like, fuck. If the Gremlins were your servants for every April Fool's Day, how long does it take for their fun to eventually evolve into full-blown chaos? Probably not long, probably in an hour at least. Alright, if you were ever given the seat to write a new Gremlin storyline, screenplay, novel, TV script, what direction would you want to go with? This is a good question, because I've always thought about how to do a Gremlins 3 or a Gremlins story in general. What I'd like to do is have them somewhere else, because there's always so many possibilities. I don't want to take them to space. Gremlins do not... I would never take the Gremlins to space. But what I would like to do, honestly, is have... what I'd really love to do is have the Gremlins in either one of these three places, because I think they could do so much stuff with them. First and foremost, Tokyo. Yeah, Tokyo is is the one place, because I'd love to see them. Just there's so much you could do in Tokyo. I've even had this scene in my head of the Gremlins breaking into Toho Studios and running around, fighting inside one of like the miniature sets for the Godzilla pieces, or even they all pile into a Godzilla costume and run around the set. And there's other ideas like Gremlin running around in a schoolgirl outfit going like "Senpai, senpai," or them discovering tentacle hentai and just being horrified by it, like something the Gremlins are like, "Oh no, no, no." Yeah. Like the other place is Las Vegas. Las Vegas is another place because again, possibilities of them in doing all this stuff like that. Like I would love to see like a Gremlin dressed as an Elvis impersonator. And you're probably wondering, well, you just said you didn't like different types of Gremlins. It's different because I didn't like the different species of Gremlins, like an electric Gremlin or a bat Gremlin or stuff like that. But when the Gremlins are dressing up, that's when they have the most fun because they're really like just destroying that kind of image. So a Gremlin dresses up as an Elvis impersonator for an Elvis impersonator contest, and when he loses, he just flips his shit and just starts mauling the announcer. Again, there's so many things you could do in Las Vegas that I think you could have fun with it. And the final place I would love to put the Gremlins is Amsterdam. I think I've said enough as it is. Gremlins in Amsterdam. So yeah, those are some of the places I'd like to take the Gremlins. I never put them in space, but I would love to play with one of those ideas. So anyway, think of those questions, Linerman0245. Moving on now to Matthew Bennett, who asks, what was one of the best moments in the franchise so far for me? I think one of my favorite moments in the Gremlin franchise for me was just the bar scene, like the scene in the bar in the first movie, and then the movie scene when they're all watching Snow White. I just love that reaction when the kid goes, "They're watching Snow White, and they love it." Anyway, so there you go. All right. Second question: would you bang the lady Gremlin? No. Third question: how many Gremlins could you fit in Hitler's ass? Well, 10. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Matthew Bennett. Moving on now to Wolfman the Impaler. He asks, Peridot, Abridged Nappa, Strax and Triceracop, or Team What the Fuck, as I'm going to call them from now on, have a pet mogwai between Nappa and Strax. Who feeds it after midnight after getting it wet? And how does Triceracop and Peridot react? They both call the other two stupid and then proceed to spend the rest of the night fighting off the Gremlins and trying to stop them. Second question. Krillin, Yamcha, and Raditz are locked in Disneyland after it's overrun by Gremlins. How hilarious are their asses going to get kicked? Extremely funny. It's going to be extremely funny. The Gremlins kidnap Liam Neeson's daughter. What happens? The Gremlins give back Liam Neeson's daughter out of fear of getting stomped into the ground. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Wolfman the Impaler. Moving on now to the Kane Matters show, who asks, Gremlins versus Critters, who wins? See, that's always been a crossover that a lot of people have always talked about. I'd have to give it to maybe the Gremlins at first, because they're more interested in fun. They're more interested in having like psychotic fun than eating people. The Critters would eventually win because they've got a bite force that can literally bite through almost anything, and poison needles. Plus, the more they eat, the bigger they get. So it would eventually get that the Gremlins would start picking on the Critters, but then eventually the Critters would just keep getting bigger. It's just start shoveling Gremlins into their mouths. Anyway. Second question. What horrible things do you think the Gremlins could do to the following characters? Robbie from Gravity Falls, Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, Chucky from Child's Play, Glenn Quagmire from Family Guy, and Isaac Clarke from Dead Space. Well, I think for Robbie, they would probably, what horrible things they would do to him is maybe, I'm trying to think of like something they would do, but it would be terrible. Probably slice his tires and then send him off a cliff. I don't know. Sheldon Cooper, tie him down and make him watch the Star Wars prequels and force his eyes open the whole time. Chucky, they would just rip him to pieces. Glenn, they would, I think they would put they would put like laxatives in his coffee and make him shit in the middle of having sex. And Isaac, they would just like slice his Achilles tendon in the middle of a monster fight. Man, those were some like hapless gags to downright bloody. What is wrong with me? Third question. The Gremlins invade Freddy Fazbear Pizza. How fucked are the Sunshine Gang, Springtrap included? Pretty fucked, I would say. Absolutely fucked, probably. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Kane Matter. Moving on now to Sora vs. Ka, who asks, what would happen if the 10th Doctor and Donna met the Gremlins? Could you imagine the amount of damage that the Gremlins would do to the TARDIS? I can't even think about that. The cloister bell would be ringing, the Gremlins would be like running through all the rooms, and I could just imagine the Doctor and Donna running through each room, trying to be like, come on, get that one, get him out of the pool. Oh, god damn it. Second question. Would the Gremlins be good villains for Gravity Falls? Oh yeah, they would fit right into the Gravity Falls. In fact, that would actually make a really good crossover. Gremlins and Gravity Falls. Just have like Mabel or Wendy find the Mogwai in the forest, like find Gizmo or another Mogwai, and oops, Seuss or Stan, because it would be one of those two who break one of the rules, and Gremlins ensue. Yeah. Third question. What would happen if the Joker met the Gremlins? Oh, he'd be happy. He wouldn't even try to control them. He would be like, they would look at him and be like, leader. And he would just lead them like a marching band into Gotham City and just proceed to rip shit up. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Sora vs. Ka. Moving on now to Shockwave Spider, who asks, the Gremlins meet the minions from Despicable Me and the Watchdogs from Wander Over Yonder. What happens? The Gremlins have at the time of their lives making the minions and the Watchdogs fight each other while they're sitting back and laughing at them. Alright. If Aku met the Gremlins, would he want them as his minions? No, he would not. He would take one look at them and go, yeah, I was thinking about having you guys as my posse, but yeah, no, that's not happening. Alright. Would you want a Mogwai as a pet and a friend? No. I mean, they're cute and all, but I don't think I would keep one out of fear of ruining everything. Alright, so thank you for those questions, Shockwave Spider. Moving on now to Xavier Ford, who asks, actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf versus the Gremlins, who wins? Gremlins. Alright. Rick Astley, Master of the Rickroll versus the Gremlins, who wins? Rick Astley. And He-Man from Hey Yeah versus the Gremlins, who wins? He-Man. Me-Man. Because his voice would shatter their eardrums and make their heads explode. So thank you for those questions, Xavier Ford. And final set of questions come from Robo Kaiju, who asks, how would you do a crossover where the real Ghostbusters meet the Gremlins? I think I would have it that the Gremlins are sneaking in, like, someone has accidentally released the Gremlins into New York, and they're doing all this weird shit in the shadows, and everyone thinks it's ghosts, so the Ghostbusters come in, and hilarity ensues. Second question. If the Gremlins become zombies and terrorize the city, who would you have stop them? Alucard, maybe? Third question. If you could create your own gremlin, what would he look like and what would his name be? Again, I'm not really into the whole special ability gremlins thing. I mean, as much as I love Gremlins too, it's one of the few things I'm like, you could have just left the Gremlins as they are. They're timeless in and of itself. So, I think what I would have though is a Gremlin who's like a second in command to Stripes or Mohawk. Like he's kind of like his face is all messed up. He's a little more brooding. Maybe something like that. But anyway, thank you for those. That looks like all the questions. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone for sending questions. And once again, if I did not answer someone's question, that usually means that YouTube marked it as spam or didn't have it at all on the list. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, and I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.